Hello and welcome to another production of the Single H Show with the Good Brothers. Woo!
So what's up today, Single H?
We're going to talk about emotions.
We're going to talk about emotions. Today I thought it would be really cool, and we've kind of already laid out the parameters of things, but we're not going to say people's names. We're going to try to keep it as general as possible.
Like the next couple episodes, he will be named Frankenfurter.
Yeah, okay. I was trying to move on to the topic, but
Sorry.
yes. So, we're not going to use people's names. We're not going to say your school's name. But I thought for this episode specific, there may be some adults listening to this podcast that needs to hear the reactions of the younger generation that happened on Wednesday, November the 6th.
Yeah.
So I wanted, maybe that you and I can discuss some of the reactions you got. I know that you got a boatload of texts that night.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I essentially got a play-by-play of the election.
yeah. And first of all, let's lay out, and again, we do need to point out something. Most of the reactions that we get, the things that we see on social media, exist within the social spheres that we are a part of.
Yeah.
Because of computer algorithms or whatnot, things that you search become the main topics in your personal feeds and everything. So I hold that as reality. But yet still, within that reality, I feel that there's some voices that are not heard by others, and I want you to be their voice today. That was a roundabout, but did it kind of make sense?
Yes.
Yes. So I would like for you to share, and I want us to break these down. So don't vomit them all out.
I am going to start with mine, though.
Share one generalized concern that's being dealt with. We'll start with yours.
Look right to the main concern right now.
Rights. Period.
Yeah.
Rights.
That
Yes.
is the main concern.
Yes. I have shared, there is a transparenting that went up last night. I shared my concerns over your rights. Your rights to your journey, your identity journey, your body journey. But I want your voice. Don't just say rights. Flush it out. Flush it out.
Like, right to have gender-affirming care. Right to have surgeries if I need it. Right to, like, fully bodily autonomy. Because being assigned female at birth, things in that route are even going to go terribly.
Uh-huh.
So, it's the right to be protected, right to go to the bathroom.
That's
Yeah.
your identity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to pull one thing out because I want to make sure that we make things clear. You're worried as an adult one day that you might need surgery as an adult. And you will not be able to have that. Because I don't want what you just said misinterpreted, that children are having surgeries. That's not true. Although
It
the
happens.
royal asshole said so.
Yeah. Very rare circumstances. And you have to have a lot of papered for that to happen as a kid.
Yeah. But 98% of transgendered kids are on a journey that is reversible. And that's something that hasn't been pointed out at all.
Yeah.
That you get this statement, an ignorant ass statement that says that people are dropping off their kids as boys and bringing them back as girls.
And
that's,
me,
of all,
for one, I'm like, that wouldn't work, honey.
And so that's a lie.
Yeah, I'm like,
But
it seemed like people don't read out of how long it takes to heal from surgery.
yeah.
We're not at Star Trek level yet.
Okay, that's true. And there is just this immense surge of absurdity, of misinformation that's thrown out. And I know that we are monotonous over going back over and over with it, but we have to.
Yeah.
Because people believe this garbage, and they believed it enough to give away their rights when they voted.
Yeah.
So the first... Go ahead.
I also feel like that's what people did not realize. I feel like people believed the fact that he wasn't tied to 2025, even though there are countless ways that you can prove that he is.
Yeah.
Because I think that was also a big plot hole for people.
Plot hole. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's
America
true.
wants to be run like a reality TV, why not?
By a reality TV host. Yeah. So, you're right. So, that, and again, I just reiterating, the only thing that you can have as a kid is reversible.
Yep.
The puberty blockers, the testosterone.
Like hormones, or like,
estrogen.
The farther you go for it, the less and less reversible. But they tell you that
Every time that you enhance, they remind you.
Yep.
But it's reversible. Okay, so your rights.
Yeah.
Your rights. I want you to talk about, for a minute, the freedom that you have felt so far in your journey by being on your journey.
I feel as comfortable as I think I can get in my body.
Yeah.
That's how I'm gonna describe it. I got to a point that I kind of can see myself in the mirror. And it's that kind of like the ability to kind of go to kind of see how much there is a difference.
Yes.
And I feel like I also get a share. I have both perspective to a certain degree. I have all perspective to I'm going to say it this way. I have all perspective to a certain degree with how we have talked about my gender identity on the podcast and how it is kind of a Pandora's box.
Yes.
Kind of that feel comfortable.
But you are starting to feel comfortable about your identity because you have up to this point been allowed to be on this journey identity, and none of it would have been allowed outside of parental consent.
Yep.
So that's the other misinformation. There's no kids sneaking out of their house and getting testosterone anywhere. And this is not being done without parental consent. I have had to go through therapy interviews for you about me before that you were allowed to do it.
Yeah.
So it's all this information. So there's the hate pushback on that about your rights.
Yeah.
So give me another topic and maybe an example without names of another fear that has been that you heard on November 6th.
People are really worried about being deported right now. Even people who were born here, families have generations here, are worried about being deported.
Yes. When you hear information about mass deportations, that boils down to you're either white or you're not, and that's the statement. Yeah. I said it. Hold me to it. But there's the only way that something like this happens is by you're either white or you're not. And that happened in World War II with Japanese, naturalized Japanese persons born in the United States. George Takei being one of them has documented his experience that just because that he was of Japanese descent, he and his families were put in an American concentration camp. Now we haven't, this is what happens when you don't talk about things.
Yeah.
That you are doomed to repeat history. We talk about Auschwitz and all of the concentration camps in Germany during World War II, but we in the United States had Japanese concentration camps. We were doing it too. So, and we are on the verge of it happening again.
Yeah.
So, the deportation I get, because there's only one way to judge it. They're not going to go around asking for everybody's papers, and not everybody's going to be carrying their papers. But the ones that are going to get the most hassle are Mex-Americans. I don't know what the proper term is, but you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and you got anything to say about that, white boy?
It looks scary by all accounts.
Yeah.
And that kind of proved how much valid I was to lose hope in the country. And I feel mad that I have to say that statement as a teenager. No teenager should have to say those words about a place they've been living for all their lives. No teenager, not a bit, should have to say that. And I think that alone shows how scary the situation is.
Yes.
The kind of, I don't want to lewd people because some, excuse my language, some closed-minded actual can't see past his own color.
That's very fair. So it does affect you because you have developed relationships with dear people, and you have the ability to see them as dear people.
Yeah.
And you experience their hurt because you don't see them by race or demographic. You see them as your friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what else? You just said a phrase, so I kind of want to jump on it.
Yeah.
Was there a feeling of lost hope on Wednesday?
Yes.
Explain it in the teenage understanding.
I'm sorry, I can't do that. I can't physically do that how I went through it. It felt like a validation of feeling that I was already having. Here, I'm gonna use a mixture of words. It was the bad validation that I needed for feeling that I was already having.
Yeah.
Because I was already losing hope with him in the race. And it
really did say something about even the conservative base of that he got that far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I already was losing hope, and that gave my brain permission to lose all of it in this.
Yeah.
To lose all of it.
Yeah.
And it start again from the ground up. Emotional-wise and physically wide. My brain literally is, probably still is. My brain did not let me feel emotion the first couple of days.
Yeah. My
My brain went, that did too much, honey. You don't need to feel this right now.
Yeah.
And that closed it away because that was a Pandora box of feeling that my brain went, we need to survive. Right now emotions are on the burner. right now your only response of how are you doing is I'm alive.
Yeah.
That is your only response.
And that is a great explanation of losing hope. A clear explanation of losing hope. Give me one more. What's one more generalized conversation piece? And I want to end this with a little bit of hope. We're going to have we're going to do what we haven't done in a while. The last podcast you would want, Steve Straw, moment of positivity for this week because we really need it. But give me one more. Give me one more.
Like an overwhelming amount of fear for everyone.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I can fully clarify that.
Yeah.
But it's consistent.
Yeah.
With valid reasoning.
And the people that aren't afraid are bombastic about it.
Yeah.
They create more fear in the celebrations that I've observed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I heard one good person say it, that America was already great because everybody was finally getting some rights. And people were so afraid of losing their rights. Their definition of making America great again was to send it back to the 1940s when all of our friends of color, our LGBTQIA plus friends, women had no rights at all.
Yeah.
And that making America great again is really translated into making America white again.
Yeah.
And it hurts. It hurts that I live in that country right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I have a really cool moment. And I want to share mine first in this last podcast that you'd want. And if you want a good movie conversation podcast, the last podcast you'd want is the first podcast you want. Steve Straw talks about movies. They rank movies by themes. It's a great movie-based conversation. Look for the last podcast you'd want on Spotify and iTunes. So it's time for the last podcast you'd want. Moment of positivity for this week. Friday, I went out and stood on a street corner in a red pocket in Southern California. And I just held up a sign that said, "You matter." And I had the LGBTQIA plus flag over my shoulder. It wasn't an equality flag. It doesn't have the yellow, the purple circle in it.
The progress flag.
It wasn't a progress flag, but it was a rainbow flag. And I just stood there, and I had the flag draped over my shoulder, and I held the sign that said, "You matter." And I have to tell you, it didn't take me long to start crying for people that were shouting thank you. I nearly collapsed crying when I watched this car turn around and come back to me to say thank you. But the moment that I had the most was a lady literally stopped her car and pulled into a parking space and ran over to me to give me a hug because she is tired of all the hate. And she was so happy to see a person just standing there with a sign that said, "You matter. You matter," with the flag. So that's my moment of positivity for this week, is I went out to be positive and reaped it back hard. Do you have a positive moment?
Going to Hot Topic.
Right on. Explain it all.
I got a Deadpool and Wolverine shirt with both of them holding their knife to each other.
Uh-huh.
And I got a Beetlejuice shirt. And then I really, 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 really needed a restock of black nail polish.
Yes.
Because it's been out for like a month.
For the next 4 years, I'm going to have one nail painted.
Yeah.
I learned that from Penn Jillette. Penn Jillette did it when his mom died as a sign of remembrance. But it can be a sign of anything. But thank you for loaning me some black nail polish.
Yeah, I really needed black nail polish, and it's been 50% off, so I got another one, because I like my nail polish.
Yes. And there you go.
And board breaking, that's what...
talk about that. That's awesome.
So, I needed a practice...
Hang on before you start it.
Yeah.
We're going to talk in more detail about this during the Power Hour this week, too.
Yeah.
But go ahead and share your part of the board breaking.
We have two things that we're going to talk about on the Power Hour. So, I needed to practice my break for black belt, and faith that I know people who know how to hold it can hold it.
Uh-huh.
And I did my side kick and I did my palm heel the way that I'm gonna do it for testing. And I was able to break the blue board, which is kind of like the one board hold.
Yeah, so that a blue board would equal one board.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the red would be 1.5, and then the black is 2.
Okay, cool.
For me to do it.
And both of your boards were blue boards, so that's a regular one board depth?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Like, it would give the resistance of one board. That's a better way to describe re-breakable boards. They're all designed to give you the resistance of the boards.
Yes. Well, that's two very positive things.
Yeah.
Thank you, Single H. That was the Single H show for you this week, spoken by the Good Brothers. Everyone,
have a great week. And you are loved, you are valid, and you are amazing.
and you matter.